Can I have a roll call, please?
Wendover.
Present.
Bertles.
Present.
Engels. Brown.
Present.
Dubravik. Snyder.
Here.
Okay, I have approval of the agenda for tonight.
I didn't get anything. I have,
Don't you have an
Carl
agenda
Filkins.
sitting there?
No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Ed, you need the
An agenda if you got one.
agenda?
I just have 3 items up from Filkins.
Yep, here are the minutes. And there's an agenda.
An agenda too.
There's an agenda.
Thank you.
I've got another. Okay. You've got my copy of the agenda and minutes. And I can print more if you want to read the minutes, Jill. If not, they're
I'm fine.
right
I read
next
them
to you.
on, when
You read them online?
Ed, you've got the agenda, so
Yeah. All right,
I'll follow your lead.
all right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? So moved.
Okay.
Bertles, Brown seconds.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any public comments? It appears not. Next item is the approval of the June 12th meeting minutes. Now, is it June 12th or June 13th?
June 13th, looks like.
Was it
The
June?
minutes say the 13th.
That'll be corrected then to the,
Okay.
was it the 12th then?
You got it.
I can correct that. That'll be easy to correct. I'll look it up.
Okay. Since Brother Snyder was the main part of that meeting, possibly someone else should move to approve the minutes.
Well, I wasn't here, so
You can still,
Okay.
you can still make a motion.
I make a motion we approve
I won't even
the
second.
minutes.
And Mark?
Bertles will second.
Okay.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wait a minute, I'm just looking at this. Could we back up just a second here on that? Mike, in the past, as we have done when Pat Bertles was representing the senior citizen complex, I think the minutes need to reflect that Mark stood down from the commission and presented from the audience. Just to be very clear, would that be appropriate?
Not a problem.
All right, I guess we better consider that an amendment to the minutes.
So moved.
Bertles moved.
Second.
Brown seconded. Can we then accept the minutes of that meeting as amended?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. As amended.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem.
We have no public hearings scheduled and no new business scheduled, but we do have a lot of old business. In front of the board is a letter dated October 4th to the mayor with an attachment relative to our certified local government application. I got this 5 minutes before I left for the meeting. I talked to the executive director of SHPO today, and he got on it, and they followed up. In reading the attachment, there are a couple of hoops they want us to jump through. Most of them, Mike and I talked about them a little bit before we started the meeting. Most of them, I think, can be easily handled. One of them, I think we need to discuss, and that is that whether or not we would want the certified local government to expand duties under the federal tax program, and it must initiate a memorandum of agreement with SHPO to do so. I don't think in trying to remember all our discussions, even when Nan Taylor was leading this thing, I don't think that was ever our intent, though it's certainly up to the commission members here to, if they want to do that. I'm looking down under Basic Requirements 5. The first paragraph.
Well,
I think
Let me go.
my recollection or recommendation would be that we simply follow the SHPO rules. We're not looking to get any extra tax credit hunts or anything here, unless you folks want to do it differently.
I agree with you, Ed.
It's just basically relative, I mean, this is in general, or is this relative to the Cobb Mitchell?
No, this is the certified local government application.
Okay.
The rest of it, it's all pretty much just some dotting I's and crossing T's that Mike can follow up on to get back to them. The reason it took so long, just so that everybody knows, the SHPO had a woman who was in charge of this who took a maternity leave just before our application hit. Well, she took her full maternity leave, and then at the end of that decided that she didn't want to come back to work. So, of course, they hadn't posted the position, and it all just took some time. They're very apologetic about it, have been very polite. I think now we can count that we'll be moving ahead, and we should be approved with our certified local government application to SHPO. They then send it on to the federal government, but I assume that is just a pro forma thing. We probably should make sure, Mike, that the city manager and the mayor are aware that we have reviewed this and that we're proceeding.
Okay.
Since they deal with the mayor directly.
And proceeding.
So I don't think that we require any action. We've already approved it. But I just wanted everybody to be up to speed on that.
Follow SHPO's procedure.
And I think we should follow up on this at future meetings. So Mike, would you put that on the, keep that on the agenda until we hear that SHPO has got everything they want? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Cobb's and Mitchell building update, and Mike Coy has presented us an updated tax situation on the building, which raises a question, Mike. The city's bid which was the only bid accepted, did not include the amount from 2016. And I wonder if that poses an issue. I don't know.
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well.
I doubt it. Because at that time, there were no, technically, I don't think there were any 2016 taxes.
Right, at that time.
That were delinquent.
Right. And but I don't know if the city pursues recovery of that from the owners still. It might be something to run by the attorney.
I'm going to say that, you know, the city would certainly, you know, attempt to recover the full amount that you're showing, because it doesn't change the status that its taxes do.
There also is, and this we discussed with the city attorney and the city manager at the time of the sale. There also is some question about whether all of the taxes are apportioned, or whether the city's portion is just forgiven. And that is probably something that once this transpires in December, there probably ought to be a summary, Mike, some sort of an accounting and update that is put in the Historic District Commission minutes at some time.
Okay.
Just to show we've been all upfront about pursuing this. The building's redemption period is up in December. We have not heard whether the city manager has arranged with the city attorney and the judge for an inspection of the premise. But with the cold weather at hand, Mike, I would suggest that that be done to make sure that the heat is on in the building. Because we're already starting to see some weather damage, as is pointed out in our minutes, to the building. And we want to make sure that it is not destroyed until we get it moving. The only other thing that's unfinished business about that is the Cobbs and Mitchell Building Task Force, which became sort of the South Mitchell area, or call it the Cobbs and Mitchell area. With the planning charrette that we did, we've not gotten a report back from Networks Northwest, and I'd like to see that report comes to not only the Historic District Commission, but it should go to the DDA and possibly the Planning Commission as well, I think. That's all I've got on Cobbs and Mitchell. Any questions? Yeah.
Is there plumbing on the main upper floor?
No.
That's okay, so it's all in the basement?
It's all in the lower level.
The east end, pretty much. Okay, okay.
It's all in the lower level. But the boilers are in the lower level too.
Okay.
And there's water to them running all the time.
Oh, okay.
So we need to make sure that
Yeah.
someone casts an eye at that.
Yeah.
What I would suggest, if we could, Mike, and Marcus and the city attorney were agreeable, if there's an opportunity to tour that, I think the individual commission members may like to go along on that. Maybe some other folks in town. I think Bill Tenza had expressed an interest in going too from the chamber.
Are we allowed in there?
Well, the judge, well see, the city attorney believes that because the city was the successful bidder, that we are entitled to look at the premises to make sure that they are in a condition that, as promised.
Right.
And in this case, because of the heating aspect to it with the plumbing, it makes sense that we make sure that everything's okay. I'm sure the judge would allow that, but I don't think it's been done yet.
This is interesting too, because today, actually it was just like an hour ago, I drove by and there was a group of people up on those steps, the doors were open, and it looked like about 4 or 5 people. Somebody had like the clipboards and they had a camera. Just today. I was almost going to stop, but I didn't have time.
Oh, darn.
Yes, just today, and the doors were open. Like the wood doors at the.
You couldn't tell if it was
The realtors or something?
realtors?
It's possible. They were dressed very casually, but people I didn't recognize.
We have definitely had, a few people come to City Hall asking questions, and I know some of the Cobb's Mitchell building information, I've loaned it out to 2 different people and told them to, go through it and bring it back in a few days, and they have.
But if it wouldn't have been the city going through the building,
I'm going to say no.
I wouldn't think
My
so.
suspicion is I would have heard about it.
Yeah, and I think I would have too, from the city
I'm
manager.
sure that Jeff Dietland, our utilities manager, Bruce DeWitt, our public works manager, would probably be a part of it just because of their knowledge.
Good point, and that's someone that definitely ought to be on the tour.
And I saw both those guys today, and
They didn't say anything. Okay.
they would have.
It has to be a
That'd be the
realtor driven thing. Now, the interesting thing with the redemption period, state law allows an extended redemption period, the theory being that if someone is being foreclosed on in their house, you want to give them another 6 months to try and settle it up. But in a commercial property where they haven't paid the taxes in 5 years, it does not make sense. But
Prolonging the inevitable.
no question. But
I wish I had stopped. I was just curious.
yeah, you flashed your historic district commission badge.
Oh, yeah, like, what do? I do have my AAA badge when I was young.
Oh, I
On
see.
the street. The captain.
Okay, anything more on Cobb's and Mitchell? I forwarded an email from Gwen about the Brick Street pavers, the next item on the agenda, and that the city is beginning to experiment with replacing the bricks, which is a step forward, and we thank her for continuing on that.
Definitely.
Next item on the agenda is we've had a position vacant, actually I guess we call it the Nan Taylor seat, for some time. We have a person who lives in the district who expressed an interest to me some time ago about possibly serving on it, and we're going to have Mike follow up and see if he would fill out the application and see if we can get the council to approve him. We also forwarded recently an email that Nan Taylor picked up on, that there was a rapidly approaching deadline for the National Register to downtown districts, and that there was a chance for us to apply. There was much scurrying around to see if we could even meet the deadline, but it probably would be prudent for us to give some thought to that within the next year, if we wanted to have the downtown on the National Registered downtown district list, we should this group should probably spearhead the application. Marcus seemed to think favorable about it, but I think the deadline was just so close at hand and may already have passed, in fact. The question becomes, and Jill, I think you were here, and Mark, when the two districts were formed, they had also surveyed the downtown buildings, I believe, the Mitchell Street buildings at that time. Was there a conscious decision not to add the downtown district?
Do you think maybe that they thought there wouldn't be, or they kind of did a preliminary canvassing?
And no one was interested. There was no interest.
Yeah.
And I know it really bothered Nan because she felt that it was really a lost opportunity. So.
Okay. Well, it may be something in the future that this group wants to take a look at. I got the impression in talking to SHPO when that notice came up, that because Cadillac had applied for the certified local government and they knew about the Cadillac downtown, they seemed to be pretty favorable to looking at that. Now, I do know that under that grant, there are some very generous facade grants. Do you know about those, Pat?
Not specifics. I think we went through it with the city of Big Rapids. They did up some major facade work. And,
Yeah, I was just in Big Rapids. It was really good.
Yes.
Big Rapids.
Yes. We may want to research that. That might be something that some of the downtown property owners would find to be awfully advantageous, I would think. Now, we've seen recently some upgrades to downtown, and, maybe, when that starts, maybe other people get the idea. If facade grants were readily available, I would think that would be...
It's usually a good trigger. I think at Big Rapids there wound up being 13 or 15 facades that were done, so fairly significant.
Do you have contacts there?
Yeah.
Could you maybe noodle and make a phone call or two and ask them how this has worked? Now, the one thing, this came up in our meeting with where the chamber and the DDA were here for the certified local grants. Maybe there are restrictions that go with it that are would be perceived as detrimental to property owners. So we ought to be, for sure, we don't want to cram anything down anybody's throat, but maybe it's prudent that we begin a look at that with a year or so to go. Should we leave it at that?
That's a perception I've had in the past when we used to have the Main Street group and several other
right.
That just never the local businesses or downtown development didn't pick up on it. It was always perceived to be a negative. Big Rapids did not have a lot of, when I think of what was done, I mean, there wasn't a lot of restrictions. Even though they went through, we hired a historical architect and went through and made sketches on whatever it was, 15 facilities, as what they could do for the budget they could achieve.
Does facade include the rear of the building as well, or just the front?
The answer to that, as I understand it, is yes. That when they talk about facade, they're not just talking the front.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, obviously, is one of the things we've kicked around up and down Mitchell Street with the park and the lake to the back. My gosh, it's such a planning wonderment. I mean, what you could do with that.
Well, especially with the new everything new in that park in the parking lot.
No
You know,
question.
a lot more, many more people will be using that, and then you've got the backs of these buildings that are very unattractive. And if people could have grants to spruce those up, that would just pull it all together. So nice.
There were 3 or 4 facades that were front and back and the graphics that were done. Yeah.
We've had quite a few, excuse me, but we've had, you know, when you look at Serendipity, Lakeside Title just finished theirs, Cadillac 5 Theater, Cadillac 5's going to do some more. The DDA has for years provided a facade loan program with extremely low interest loans to anybody who wants to take advantage of them. They haven't been taken advantage of a lot because it seems like when the property owners are doing it, they're just taking care of it, such as Cadillac 5, Lakeside Title, you know, etc. And but the DDA does have a low interest facade loan, grant loan program. And
Do they know that? Do all these businesses know that?
Oh, yes, they know it. The business owners know it.
Well, maybe if it were grants, outright grants, maybe that would be more attractive than the loans.
Well, grants are more attractive, but, you know, who's going to, you know, what organization is going to provide the grant money?
Under the national downtown districts, my understanding is there is grant money readily available. Now, it's worth checking into. Maybe they say readily, but the red tape isn't worth bothering with, who knows. But let's put that in the tickler file.
I have a question. You had mentioned that there's a deadline for that. Is that like an annual deadline?
The deadline for that was the end of September. And if you look back when I forwarded it to everybody from Nan, we have like maybe 3 weeks or something, and Marcus was even looking at whether the planning commission was meeting, the council was meeting, and they were. We could have hurried and done it, but I think in retrospect that would have been rushing it too much. And they postponed the deadline as they realized that our CLG application had not been acted upon. And I think they postponed it into about today's date.
Is the CLG tied in with what's the tie with that?
Yes, the CLG enables the city to have a formal grant application process that they look favorable upon.
Okay.
So that's what SHPO said. So I think we should be looking at that, you know, come next
year.
June or so, maybe, we ought to be trying to see whether there's any interest in expanding it to the downtown. And one of the things will be, in looking at it, is the past survey of buildings that was done when the Historic District Commission was being formed. That should be somewhere in the, I don't know, the basement or the attic of City Hall.
If it was done, it's around here. I mean, and it may be in one of the books in my office. I don't think so, but it may be, because I've got a bookshelf over half full of just old Historic District stuff that, you know, was put together. As I mentioned that earlier too, particularly with reference to the downtown, the city we've really been pushed heavily by the Michigan Economic Development Corp to be classified as a redevelopment-ready community. That's a very important thing for the future, for the city. very important, particularly with reference to grants and stuff like that through the MEDC. They have what are called best practices, and the best practices are pretty explicit on the importance of following them. And they repeatedly mention engaging stakeholders that are affected. So my opinion is that anything with a historic downtown type of a, designation would certainly require engaging the stakeholders, the property owners. And it doesn't, I guess, necessarily mean that they would all have to agree, but they would sure need to be engaged.
So it's worth following up on all that. That's the old business part of the agenda. We have no tabled items. Are there any other informational items we should know about? Under Commissioner comments, I would like to inform you all with regret that I will be submitting my resignation from the Commission effective the 9th of November.
That is regretful.
Yeah.
My wife and I are getting on the bus and heading out. Our house has been listed for sale.
You're going north. You're going north?
It depends on the results of the election the day before.
You'll be staying at.
I don't think you need to worry.
Ed, I didn't think the local elections would really that way.
Yeah, it's the local stuff isn't what has us worried. But it's been fun working with you all, and I think each of us has been, touched by Nan's passion for this. It's been good for the city.
Yeah.
Been very good for the city.
Wendy, then Nan.
Yeah. Yep.
And are there any other commissioner comments?
I guess
Well, we're going to have to fill your spot too then.
Right.
If you folks know of anyone.
How about the new folks in the brick home? Is that?
They're not ready.
They're not ready yet, but
They're just getting moved in, settled into town, and
Okay, so maybe next.
but they have experience owning home in the past in historic districts out in California.
and she's an attorney.
Oh, cool.
She has
So,
out-of-state clients, and so
Oh,
When do we elect new officers?
supposed to do it the first meeting in 2017.
Okay.
might not be enough of us still. Okay.
well, it
Won't
might
even have a quorum.
I know. Yeah.
It might be good for everyone to be considering, recruiting folks.
John Eel, he had an interest and then he decided he was too busy. He's getting married at the end of this month. Maybe Shayna would be interested. Shayna, my neighbor.
Maybe Shannon would. That's not a bad idea.
I can talk to her.
I even wonder about the, I don't know their names, but they move up the alley in McCorson's old house, Dillon's, Mary Dillon.
Yeah,
What
I don't even know who lives there now.
They're a nice young couple. They have children. He's kind of a stay-at-home father. But
Yeah.
maybe I should see if I
Well, I think we should all look.
on the lookout. Okay.
I'm hoping that this one person I had a brief conversation with would be happy to do it. I think he'd be a good addition, but...
Would you folks want to meet at a different time next month?
I should be okay. Is everyone looking at me?
I'm really flexible right now, so...
Throwing a question out. We've had other boards and commissions that have needed to, adjust their timing.
I'm good with 5 o'clock next month.
I will not be here.
Before we leave item 10, I guess I just want to point out that, I'm officially no longer a licensed architect. So I've let that lapse.
What? Oh, no, I didn't know that.
We'll pay your dues, what are they?
So I don't know how that affects everything here, and especially when I look at the, the
CLG.
government application.
Are you retiring?
Well, I'm trying. Yeah. Well, I'm no longer doing commercial projects. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
So,
Okay.
so I don't know how that affects us. Or affects me in this application.
It does affect the CLG status, doesn't it?
It may or may not. I mean, my gut feeling is Pat hasn't forgotten everything he's learned in his career. I got a suspicion a good part of it you've retained. So it may not be it may not be an issue at all. But we'll throw that at SHPO.
Okay. Well, when I read
Some
the
of the
first
questions they
paragraph, they talk about an architectural historian, and I don't know that I meant that anyway. They're looking for historical qualifications of a...
I think you're going to do just fine with that, Pat.
Yeah, I think so.
I think a retired architect, certainly under the Historic District Commission guidelines, would be acceptable. I don't know about the CLG, whether it has to be a current license, worth checking on.
If there's nothing to approve next month, there's really nothing more to do. I mean, we just want to wait and see if we have a meeting.
I will speak with you probably, I'm sure, the week before.
Okay.
As I did Ed, just send him a agenda, how does it look, and then email it, and I'll
We'll decide.
make it a point, even if it's just a agenda, to put something in the mail or drop them off at your homes. I didn't this time because I'm pretty sure I had given everybody the minutes previously to the June meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll communicate a little better, but we'll decide at that time.
Are there any other comments? Then a motion there are no other public comments? Then a motion to adjourn, please.
I make a motion we adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ed.